Hopping into first round games. Over in the East, for me, so what we're going to do, we're going to do a little bit different than in years past, because in years past we've gone, round by round, and it gets tedious because, we forget where teams are seated and who they would actually play in the second round and all that kind of stuff. So we're just going to do first round, and then we're going to talk about the conference finals and the finals. So, for me in the East, I've got, and we'll go me East, B Scott East, West is how we'll do it. I always like this producing on the fly that we do. That's a good time.
It's not a real podcast unless you just produce it on the fly.
Exactly. So first for the East for me, I've got first of all, I've got the Cavs and the Nets both making it out of the play-in tournament. So I have them winning at the Nets beating the Cavs in the first game, locking themselves in, and the Cavs beating the Hawks is kind of the team I've mentally put in as that game in the 8-9 game. I've got the Heat over the Cavs. Celtics and Nets, this is a series that I think actually will be a very tightly contested series. I am leaning Boston. The Celtics are hot. They've got the defensive prowess to stop KD and Kyrie. These two teams met back on March 6th, which I know you should be able to tell a lot. You should be able to go off a lot more than one game, but that was the matchup where all the elements that will be involved in this series were at full song. You had the Celtics as the hottest team in the East. You had the Nets, back with KD and Kyrie, those two superstars on the court at one time. They met in Boston. Jason Tatum had 54 points in the win. KD had 37. Kyrie had 19. Both teams were clicking on all cylinders. The Celtics did come out on top. Like I said, I know you should be able to go off a lot more than just one game, but I think that is kind of indicative of what we'll see from Boston. So I've got Boston moving on. Then in the Bucks-Bulls series, I just wish that the Bulls weren't playing the Bucks in the first round because I don't see the title defense ending in the first round for Giannis. So I think that alone gets the Bucks into the second round. I wish the Bulls were like the 4-5 matchup or even, the 2-7 because I definitely would have them moving on to the semifinals for the East. But, the Bulls, they did fade down the stretch. Lonzo Ball is out for the postseason. Caruso will miss some time. So that's significant. So I've got the Bucks moving on. And then, you know what? I can't go on a tangent about how good the Raptors are and how well coached they are and then be like, yeah, but go 76ers. So I'm actually going to have the Raptors winning this series. Let's face it, the 76ers do have a track record of losing the conference finals anyway. Even if I had picked them, I would have had them losing in the conference semis just because, hey, unless you actually win a semifinal series, I'm not going to pick you, especially because the struggles of not just the Sixers, but Harden in the postseason is pretty well documented. So I'm going Raptors over the 76ers.
All right, so I have mine written out like in bracket format, so bear with me. I do have Miami over Cleveland. I have Cleveland being the 8th seed. I agree with you. I don't see them beating the Nets in the play-in, but I do see them I have them actually beating the Hawks as well. So, I really hope that's what happens, but I also wouldn't be surprised if the Hawks end up in the 8. So yeah, Miami over Cleveland. And then in the 4-5, I have Philadelphia in that one. They're just one of the hottest teams right now in the NBA. And I think that carries over. And they, like I said, they are a team on a mission. Milwaukee and Chicago. This one I think could be a fun series just because of how good Chicago has been this year. But unfortunately, the defending champs roll on. Not really unfortunately. I can't say that because I do like Milwaukee. Yeah. They're a fun tein. I like them. They give Pacers fans hope.
Yes. Well, and to boot, you also have Giannis on TikTok telling dad jokes, in his post-game pressures, which I think is really funny because all the comments are like, this dude just dropped 50 on your team and is telling dad jokes in the press conference. Like, this guy's amazing.
And then also one of the guys on that team is Indy native and former Pacer George Hill. So got to get behind George Hill, the Broad Ripple native. So yeah, Milwaukee moving on there. And then in the 2-7 matchup, I have Boston moving on as well. considering the one game I've seen Boston play this year, they got their doors blown off by the Pacers, which was kind of, I guess, looking at the grand scheme of things in the big picture, that was surprising. This Boston team is very well-rounded. They're well coached. They're going to be a tough out. I have them moving on though to the second round.
Right, I like it. Looking over at the West, I do have the Timberwolves winning the 7-8 game. I've got the Clippers winning the 8-9 game against. I mean, really, the Spurs and Pelicans are both kind of like what we are used to seeing out of the East when you have teams that are under 500. Of course, when you're into that depth of the when you're into the 10th team in the conference, you're gonna get that, I guess. But I do have the T-Wolves and Clippers moving on from the play-in tournament. I have the Suns over the Clippers in that first round series. The Grizzlies and Timberwolves, it's wild that both 2-7 matchups could be really fun and interesting.
Yeah.
Because the Grizzlies and T-Wolves are very evenly matched. You have two teams that are they're the top two teams in points per game. Both teams are in the top 3 in steals and blocks. They split the season series. So these are two teams that play very similar basketball, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I do have the Grizzlies moving on. They're the team that's the most hot coming into the postseason. I think they've won 7 of their last 10, whereas the Grizzlies, I think, won 4 of their last 10. Which I'm sure there's some rest stuff involved, but probably not because they're at the bottom of the food chain. So who knows what contributed to that 4-6 record down the stretch. But that's how razor thin I think this matchup's going to be. Is I'm kind of factoring in what they did in the last couple of weeks of the season. With the Warriors and Nuggets, it's funny because when I saw that these two teams would play against each other, I was all in on picking the Nuggets to win this postseason series. I was like, you know what? Is this going to be the year that Jokic is going to break out and have that deep deep playoff run? And then I saw who they were playing in the first round. I was like, it's against the Warriors, who I also want to have a deep playoff run. And so the Nuggets did win 3 of 4 against Golden State this season, and since returning to the postseason in 2018, Denver has won in every first round matchup since returning to the postseason, but it's their first time being the lower seed in those matchups. Typically, they've been the 2 seed, the 3 seed. This time, they're the 6 seed, and the Warriors are more of the caliber of team that they would face in one of those seasons in the second round, which has been a tough hill for the Nuggets to get past. So this is more of a team they're used to seeing in the semifinals, where they haven't been as good. And also I put in here, come on, it's Steph and the Warriors in the postseason. I can't pick against them. And then finally, Mavs over Jazz. I'm well-documented Jazz hater. Me, I don't like the Jazz in the postseason. Just in the postseason, just in the postseason. Yeah, they just have that fantastic regular season, and then they just go dark in the postseason. It feels like.
All right, so for me, again, I'm going bracket style. I have the same play-in winners. It's so hard. I guess I'm not a huge fan of the play-in. Let's just be honest. We both had the 7 and the 8 being in the 7 and the 8 spots on both sides.
Yeah, true.
Of everything. So let's just lose it. Seriously, it just adds. It adds a couple of games that people really don't want to watch. So another story for another time. All right, Phoenix. I have them moving on over the Clippers. Playoff P is a no-show in this playoff series. The Phoenix Suns, to me, are a lot like Milwaukee and Philadelphia. They're playing really well as a team. And this time of year, this team is, I don't know, they just click. And when you watch them, you're just like, that's how you play. So I got them advancing on. Dallas and Utah. Unfortunately, I'm not as big of a Jazz hater. I love me some good jazz music, so I have
in your cigar lounge.
In my cigar lounge while sipping on a nice glass of bourbon on the rocks. And see, I even fancy it up. I got some flowers.
Yeah, I like that. It definitely lightens up the mood in there. Sure.
Oh, it's a very room's full of mood. So I got Utah. Moving on. I'm just not as sold on Dallas, to be honest. So Utah there. Golden State and Denver. Steph, Clay, Warriors, they're playing back up to the way we are accustomed to seeing them play. Golden State moves on. Yeah, you're right. I would like to see Denver for it to click for them, but unfortunately, it's just not this year. If they were coming out of the 4-5, if they were that 4-5 slot,
kind of like Bulls and Bucks in a way.
Yeah, I could move Denver on in the 4-5 slot, but 3-6, sorry. And then Memphis over Minnesota. Memphis is young, high flying, and exciting. That gets you out of the first round at least.